Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over this thing. I have no idea if you can see it, but it is a cheap little TriLogic brand wireless mini touchpad and keyboard. And so right here it's 60 Tele and 69 Karush. I actually spent 79 Tele on it because I bought it across the street at Carrefour. And it looks super cheap, and it was cheap. 79 Tele is something like $11 US, but it's actually pretty awesome. And normally crap like this I wouldn't bother making a video about, even only a 5-minute one. But I bought it because it was inexpensive, and it seems like over here in Istanbul, there's a lot of like little computer places and weird places where they sell computer stuff, like at the grocery store, where you can surprisingly get decent stuff randomly. At one point, I had bought a miniature LED projector that was 1080p. That was freaking awesome. I ended up selling it, and I kind of wish I hadn't. But I bought it for like half the price that you could find it for online. It was, I think at the time, 300 Tele, which at that time was maybe 70 bucks. And that thing was awesome too, from a grocery store. I also bought my phone from a grocery store. I also bought one of my laptops from a grocery store. I think I buy too many electronics from grocery stores, but this one was a surprisingly good deal, so I want to talk about it real quick. So basically what it is, and again, I have no idea if you can see it, but it's a keyboard, and it's a Turkish keyboard, so it's got che and she and u and whatever those stupid letters are. But it's also got this little touchpad in there. And the touchpad is tiny. It is an inch by an inch and a half, not even. But it's good enough. And what I use it for, I don't actually have it hooked up to this computer. I have it hooked up to my home theater PC, which is connected to my television. And the reason is I got sick of having a full-size keyboard and a mouse on my coffee table, just constantly in the way. You know, I'd go to eat because like an animal, I eat in the living room watching TV. Because I was raised in a barn, you can blame my mother for that. And I just got sick of having to move stuff, or the cat jumps on it and keys fly everywhere, or, you know, something breaks or whatever. And so, you know, I was sort of looking for something like this, but not really. And I just happened to, when I was at the grocery store last week, I think it was, see this thing, see the super low price, and thought, yeah, what the hell? So, anyways, without further ado, it is a regular keypad. You can see it's got some pretty terrible LED lighting, and you can actually change the color of it. So I've got red, green, blue, purplish, or you can turn the color off. I think I'll go with blue for now. And then it's got a couple of media keys, so you can do volume up, volume down. You can do quick mute. You can skip track forward and back. If I were playing something, you'd be able to see that. It's got a couple of spots, so you can single click like this. You can scroll up and down with 2 fingers, which is a little weird because with 3 fingers, if you tap, it does right click. However, I never use that because it's just too weird. But there are 2 buttons. So there's a button right here that does right click, and there's also a button over here if you'd prefer to have it on the side that does right click. Above it, there's a click button, and there's a click button right there. So it's got all the buttons you would need. It's got, there's a Windows button on there. So it really is like pretty much like a keyboard. I mean, I'm sure that there's some stuff missing, but not much. You can search, which, if I get rid of this and do search, then it pulls up here. So like, yeah. That, by the way, normally would search in Bing on Microsoft Edge, but I have a thing called Search Deflector, which allows me to use Chrome. So at any rate, it's just like a regular keyboard, but tiny. And the nice, one of the other nice things about it, so again, the keypad sucks, but I usually use it like this. Just sort of hold it for some stability and then use it like that. And it's not bad to get used to on a 1080p TV at least. On 4K it might be tough. I don't know, I'm too poor to have one, so for 1080p it's perfect. It comes with Yeah, they're showing more colors than there really are here. Or at least in mine. Now it could be that mine has like a faulty LED controller or something, or maybe that was a different variant or something like that. I don't know, but it only has a couple of colors. However, one of the nice things about it, so it uses a little dongle, which you can, here, I'll open up the back. So there's an on-off button right at the top here. Then you pop open the back, and the dongle can set right there. But what's kind of cool about it is it uses a cell phone battery. And I don't know, it says BL-5C, 3.7 volt, 300 milliamp hour. It's probably like a Samsung or something like that. I'm sure it's a pretty standard battery. But it can also use AAAs in here apparently. However, with the cell phone battery in here, you can charge it with USB, micro USB, mini USB, micro I guess, the Samsung, like the old Samsung USB. You can charge it right there. Now, I've found two issues with it. One is when you're charging it, the E, D, and C keys won't work. And I assume it has something to do with an electrical trace that runs near it and causes interference or something like that, I don't know. But it only is an issue on those three keys and only when charging. And again, for $12, I don't care. The other issue is holding onto it for a while and especially picking it up and dropping it down. With just the backing on it, the battery wiggles a little bit. So if it starts to move, it can lose connection. And what will happen is you'll be lifting the thing up and down and the lights will go off and come back on. So all I did was take a little folded piece of paper, stuff it in there, put the cover back on. Hang on a second. I did it a way where it sort of crushes the paper in there just to give it a little bit of pressure, I guess. Oh, come on. Watch, I'll only have been able to do it once, I'm sure. But, oof, yeah. Anyways, it's not a huge issue. It just needs a little bit of extra, like, sort of cushion in there. And then with that, you can, rock it around and it doesn't have any issues. It goes to sleep after, I think, 10 or 15 seconds. I didn't count exactly. It might be as long as 20 or 30, but it will go to sleep. So at first, I was turning it off every time I stopped using it. And you see, the power light will stay on, but the LED lights go off. And if you just click OK, it now comes active again. Now, after 10 or 15 seconds, I believe, maybe 20 or 30, that blue light will go off as well. And that's sort of in like sleep mode. So then if you try to use the mouse, it won't work. To use the keypad, it won't work. But that's where you just click one of the buttons. And I always click OK because OK will work sort of like enter if, for instance, you're in the search box and you've typed something. But otherwise, just with the mouse sitting there, it doesn't do anything. It just wakes it back up. And that, I'm sure, conserves batteries. Now, when I first got it, it had some charge in it already. I have no idea how much because there's no way to tell. There's no meter on it. But also, it doesn't really matter. There is a little button to show that it's charging. There is a little button to show when the battery is dying. But I've been using it now, I think, for 5 days. And I did not charge it fully. I charged it some. At least I don't think it was charged fully. I charged it for an hour or two. The charged battery light was still on. But after that, it's worked since then. So, 4 or 5 days, something like that. So, like, right there, since that little light was on, it's still awake. And I can just use it. Now, it's also got arrow keys, which is kind of nice because scrolling like this is a little sensitive. I can probably change that in Windows settings, but I don't want to change the regular mouse settings. So I just use these arrows, and you can click, and it goes down one line, or you can just hold it, and it keeps going down. There's also page down and page up, so you can use those. And like, the only reason I'm mentioning it, because yeah, it's a cheap piece of crap, but it's a cheap piece of crap that works phenomenally well. And I thought when I first got it, I would hate the goddamn thing because of the tiny touchpad. But I figured if it broke or if I didn't like it, I could take it apart and see what's inside of it and whatever, because that's just what I do. But no, I love it. It is awesome. Again, it's got function keys, play and pause and so on. And basically, I guess my point is, if you have a need for a home theater PC, keyboard, mouse, and don't want a full-size keyboard mouse, don't want to spend the money on a full-size keyboard mouse, use it. It's 2.4 gigahertz and typically 2.4 gig on wireless mice, keyboards, so on, is good for 15 to 30 feet depending on other radio stuff that's in the area. So your Wi-Fi A, B, G, and N all operate at 2.4 gigahertz. They usually don't cause too much interference, but other 2.4 gigahertz devices do. Bluetooth is 2.4. So there's a lot of 2.4 radio waves crammed into our lives. And so, that may limit it, but still, I've got a ton of electronics in here. And the home theater PC is right next to my Wi-Fi router, and I don't have any issues. Plus, I've got wireless mouse everywhere. I've got like 5 of them at any given time. Bluetooth stuff going, etc. So there's really no issues once I stick that little piece of paper in there. Again, except for the fact that when you charge it, ED and C go. But I've been using it 4 or 5 days, and I know if I charge it overnight, I'll get at least 4 or 5 days more, and it's not even showing that it's dying yet. So buy this damn thing if you see it. It was at Carrefour at Metropole in Istanbul. But as you can see, you can buy it on Hepsiburda for a better price. And I'm sure that it is, let's see, where's it made anyways? Made in China. I'm sure that you can find them online at the Cheap Crap store, cheapcrap.com. And it is just surprisingly awesome. It's super lightweight. I am sure if I spilled a coffee on it, it would be ruined, but I wouldn't care for $12. And the nice thing is, not only can you use those AAA batteries, but if the battery dies, you can replace it with a regular cell phone battery. The same size, of course. So buy one, honestly. I think you'll be happy with it. I mean, I am, and I don't tend to be super picky about electronic stuff, but it needs to be functional. I don't care if it looks cheap or looks like crap, but it needs to work. This thing works. So yeah, that's all. Hope this helps somebody. Probably make another couple of videos today because it's a Friday and I'm already bored because we're on lockdown. So until then, enjoy.